I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. Barring the unforeseen, Donald Trump is finished. The unforeseen, like some imaginary or inflated threat, national calamity, terrorism, war, or another impossible long shot, Trump telling the truth. Otherwise, something has happened, the finality of which few have noted, that will end soon or late the Trump presidency. It happened in two stages, and when the second stage hit, the smarter Republicans began to at least look to see where the exits were. And some, like Jason Chaffetz and Paul Ryan and Ben Sasse and Mike Pence, edged imperceptibly towards those exits. It is the threat Trump made against James Comey about a tape, combined with the revelation from one of Comey's associates about memos. There are only so many ways out of this for Trump, and only one of them is good, and all the others are all proof of lies and impeachable offenses, and the chances that the good one is real are about 1 in 1 billion. This registered with Brian Beutler of the New Republic, and I am indebted to what he wrote on this because he saw it and I did not. And amid the tsunami of Trump stories in the last week or so, it was easy to miss. James Comey better hope that there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. So Comey reportedly has a series of memos of the conversations which would document his version of his conversations with Trump, presumably noting in real time Trump asking Comey to discontinue the Michael Flynn investigation, a potential violation of the so-called take care provision of the Constitution, Article 2, Section 3, asking Comey to be loyal to him first and by extension to the Constitution's second violation of the presidential oath of office, asking Comey when the FBI was going to announce it was not investigating him about Russia, potential obstruction of justice, violations of the White House Justice Department contacts policy, and Lord knows what else is in there. It is a one-witness impeachment trial now waiting to happen. Either Comey is lying, and lying and lying and lying, or Trump's presidency is already over and we just don't know whether the Republicans will bury it soon in hopes of recovering by the midterms, or if they will wait for the possibility the Democrats will get to do it early in 2019. Comey has that and all that implies, and Trump has a tape. Maybe. Option 1. Trump's only hope is that his schoolboy bully tweet means there is a tape, and it better be a tape on which every reference to Michael Flynn and Russia and loyalty and the FBI and Comey and his claim that Comey exonerated him, it better be a tape on which every reference to every single thing is as Trump has publicly claimed it is and not as Comey has reportedly written it is. Trump cannot be wrong once. If he is wrong once and Comey is right once, that brings us option 2, one article of impeachment. All you need is one. Ultimately, all those thousands of hours of Watergate tapes needed to show was Nixon on June 23, 1972, plotting to stop the FBI investigation of the Watergate break-in, just as all this scandal would be, say, Trump talking to Comey about the Flynn case and asking him to, quote, let this go. That's if there are tapes and if they produce just one pro-Comey fact. If it's more than one, if it's all of them, well, that's option 3. Given not just Trump's hundreds of lies just since he assumed office, but his seeming complete disinterest in and unawareness of the difference between lying and telling the truth, the safe guess would be Trump has no idea what would be on the tapes if they exist, and they're likely to prove him repeatedly violating the law and vindicating Comey, in which it's not just impeachment as in option 2, it would then suggest other impeachable acts and several articles of impeachment. Of course, it can still get worse for Trump in option 4. There are tapes, but Trump refuses to let anybody listen to them, claiming executive privilege or personal property or whatever he would come up with, at which point he would presumably be in violation of subpoenas from the Justice Department and maybe both houses of Congress, and he'd have a very public legal case that would go up to the Supreme Court, which heard this exact story 40-odd years ago and voted unanimously against the president about the tapes. So he's humiliated, and he still has to now go back to face option 2 or option 3. And still it can get worse, as in option 5. Trump claims there were tapes, but he has destroyed them to protect executive privilege and national security. Do not laugh. Several advisors told Nixon to destroy his tapes. His former Treasury Secretary, John Connally, said he should do it in the Rose Garden with the press looking on. Apart from the fury from Capitol Hill, destroying the tapes might deplete much of Trump's political support. If Comey's memos accuse Trump of impeachable offenses, and Trump has tapes which he claims clear him, and he destroys those vindicating tapes, how many of even Trump's voters, and more importantly his supporters in Congress, how many would see the ultimate stupidity of that? You threatened him with the tapes, he's lying about you, so you destroyed the tapes? And still it can get worse than all this. Option 6. For whatever reason, desperate, last chance self-protection, or finally listening to somebody else's advice, or thinking he can win the world back to his side, Trump announces there are no tapes and there were no tapes. He now might be guilty of fabricating evidence to aid obstruction of justice. Worse yet, he would have to now admit that something he implied was not true. So far, Trump has been asked only once about the purported Comey tape in a Fox interview, and he adamantly refused to comment. Quote, "That I can't talk about," he said. "I won't talk about that." But to have to talk about it? To have to concede that what he has said previously was not entirely correct, never mind not true, not correct? He's Trump. When was the last time he admitted he was not correct? The admission alone might destroy him from within. And still there is one last outcome that is worse than all the others. Option 7. Trump for once does the smart thing and comes down from his self-decorated cross of being the most unfairly treated politician in the history of the galaxy. And he backs down from his threat and he puts his tail between his legs and reveals quietly or loudly that there are no tapes. And then somebody else in the administration, some operations guy at the White House who's under oath and who really doesn't want to go to jail for perjury to protect Trump, he testifies somewhere that, no, there are tapes of Trump and Comey. And not just Trump and Comey, but tapes of Trump and everybody else from whom he asked loyalty, and everybody he asked to interfere with this investigation or to help him get dirt on this person he fired. And there are tapes of Trump and the Russians last week, and on and on and on. After all, we didn't find out about the Nixon tapes from Nixon. We found out about them because a Republican attorney asked a White House operations guy named Alex Butterfield. Nixon had never been asked if he was taping everybody who came through his office door. And come to think of it, Trump has yet to be asked if he was taping everybody who came through his office door. But that's because we don't have to ask. We have that stupid tweet he stupidly sent to stupidly threaten Comey, to stupidly make himself feel better, and until and unless Trump can now prove the tapes vindicate him, or until and unless Trump can now prove the tapes don't exist and never have existed, the Republicans in Congress have to assume that there are tapes. And if tapes could destroy Nixon 2 years after he won 49 out of 50 states, they sure as hell can destroy Trump, and they can take half of the Republicans seeking re-election next year with them. It was hours after the New York Times story about the Comey memo that Jason Chaffetz tweeted that he was all ready to subpoena it. And only hours more until the chair of the House Republican Conference endorsed that. And only hours until Speaker Ryan said he was fine with it too. And only hours more until the appointment of Robert Mueller as the Justice Department special counsel on Trump and Russia. And only hours after that when Fox couldn't find any Republican congressman to come on and defend Trump. And only hours after that Mike Pence filed the paperwork with the Federal Election Committee for his own PAC, because sure, it doesn't look bad that not 4 months into a new administration with the president already running for re-election, the vice president is launching a separate PAC. The Republicans are not fleeing, and the room is not yet on fire. But think of all of what we have seen the Republicans do since Trump decided to threaten with secret intelligence and hidden recording devices a man who is in the secret intelligence and hidden recording devices business. It all becomes clear. At 8:26 a.m., May 12th, Trump hit send. In terms of his presidency, he might as well have hit delete. And like us, the Republicans now know it is no longer a question of if, but of Donald Trump better hope there are no memos of our conversations before he starts threatening, oh right, there are. Resist. Peace.